Hey guys, it's Girl Got Game. Welcome back to Edo Blossoms, where we're doing the amazing Chikage Cosma's Unrequited Love ending. But before we do that, a few of you in the first episode pointed out that I did not get any affection with him by picking the first choice I did when starting his route. And I hadn't noticed, because I was so caught up in the story he was telling me that I completely forgot I even picked a choice, and so didn't notice the lack of butterfly on moon. So I wanted to come back and try the other option just to see what that was. This doesn't actually have anything to do with the unrequited love ending, but I thought I would just look at it for funsies since you guys pointed it out. Now I'm curious. So let's see what happens when you do want to know more about the Yukimura clan. Now that you mention it, I think I remember something that Sen told me in the past. Sen told me that my family, the Yukimura clan, held a lot of prestige among some of the other clans. Do you happen to know anything about the Yukimura clan, Kazuma? All of what I had learned came from Sen, that I had descended from the bloodline of one of the largest clans in our kind's history. She also told me that the Yukimura village was destroyed by humans. If Kazuma could shed some light on anything concerning the fate of my ancestors, then I wanted to know. I gazed back at him curiously, but Kazuma turned his head away from me. Oh. Interesting. He kept looking at us when we did the other option.
Your family history is something with which I am ill-acquainted. In some ways, you may be aware of more than I am.
I see.
You will have to ask Kodo or Kaoru Nagamo yourself when the time arises. That is if they decide to share the truth with you.
Well, do you know anything about any of the other families from around the same region?
Every region has a scattering of clans governed by each of their strongest members, but no. There's neither the impetus nor an infrastructure for us to communicate, leaving our activities in the dark to the watchful eyes of other demon clans.
I see. Thank you. It was a tad deflating to hear him say that, so I flicked my eyes towards the flailing arms of the fire. Is that it? That's it. So there is no affection for that choice. He just gives you info one way or another. Okay, well that's good. Thank you guys for pointing that out, though. I had to know for myself. So now that we got that all sorted... Oh, that's not actually what I wanted. I'll have to go back to the title screen now. And now we'll begin the real unrequited love ending. So let's go to chapter 4 with low romance and get that train a-rolling. Okay, well I'm glad I picked the other one and that I was too enthralled with his beautiful face and what he was saying to notice that there was a lack of a butterfly on moon. Because I would have been like, oh no, I screwed up. But I'm relieved, knowing it was just an info choice and not an affection choice at all. It's good to know. Alright, so we're going to skip through. What's... Both the low romance and the only bad end are in this chapter. So it looks like for this one we only change one option from the good ending. And it's during our after-dinner conversation. Oh no, it's before the after-dinner conversation. After the cute flirting thing they were doing when they were being all domestic. So we're not going to thank him this time. We're going to be powerless. Nothing good can come from impatience, so it's best for you to relax in the meantime. You're the one who said that to me, Kazuma, back in Aizu. I looked Kazuma squarely in the face. Sweat trickled down the back of my neck until he shut his eyes, forming his mouth into a thin grin.
I see. It pleases me to see that you are finally gaining some sense, girl.
I know where I stand here. I recognize that I'm powerless in the situation. All that I can do is prepare myself for the next step accordingly, whenever that moment comes. And of course, find some means of repaying you and Amagiri for all of your hard-fought efforts.
Quite admirable of you, really. Your growing self-awareness has not gone unnoticed.
Interesting. We didn't actually gain affection with him there, but he was still very complimentary towards her. I'm wondering if maybe the unrequited love end is just that she never goes to find him, and ergo he also does not come to get her. And so they both are just too stubborn waiting for the other person to come find them. And they miss out on the great romance that could have been. That's my theory. Okay, so we picked the same choice here for this ending. We'll pick the other one when we do the bad end. It begins right now. Okay. Kazuma and I scurried through a storm of bullets flying through barrels and tree trunks, counting ourselves as lucky for having survived it all. I better not to watch this guy die. I'm not ready. We kept low to the ground, sprinting from one hiding place to the next to reach the Shinsengumi safely. Oh no. Not this place. This place is dangerous. As we arrived in the vicinity of Goryokaku, it was dusk. What remained of the sun was dwindling over the horizon, vibrant hues smattered across a purple sky. I quickly realized that we were stepping over corpses strewn haplessly along the floor, and I flinched.
Look, there's an imperial insignia on his sleeve, right there. Might be the shogunate's work.
Shogunate's work? But it doesn't look like they suffered any bullet wounds. Instead of signs that their bodies had been pelted by projectile fire, as I had seen in other battles, I noticed their bodies bore deep scars from katana wounds. I started to wonder how all of these Imperial soldiers were subdued with only swords. Toshi? Just as the thought crossed my mind. No way.
Huh. Surprised to see you've dragged your sorry ass all the way to Ezo.
That voice! He's a fury in this? Damn. Damn, son. Hijikata? The Shinsengumi's fearless leader who drank the water of life following a battle with Imperial forces. You were my last encyclopedia thing, weren't you? Well, that's appropriate. Toshi. Look at that. Alright, well that's all done. Although I felt some relief in recognizing the man standing in front of us as Hijikata.
Yukimura. Came to join in the festivities, eh?
His hair had turned stark white, his eyes glowing menacingly in a shade of scarlet. As if that weren't enough to intimidate me, he was coated in an astonishing amount of blood. Part of me actually found him unrecognizable, and I believed his mind had succumbed to his affliction, resulting in some deranged, mindless fury. Oh, that's not good.
Didn't take you long to accept your fate, did it?
Kazuma delivered his words scathingly, despair hidden behind a veneer of anger. He looked up to you, Toshi. You were the chosen one. The two of us discussed the Shinsengumi to great lengths throughout the course of our pursuit, but neither of us, Kazuma especially, had ever anticipated him to consume the water of life, nor sacrifice his humanity for the sake of victory.
Well, according to you, we've been fakes from the start. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Doesn't mean a damn thing if the Shinsengumi loses, though.
Hijikata wore an eerie grin, shifting his feet into a stance as he unsheathed his blood-stained sword. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening.
Goryokaku will fall tomorrow. Killing me to satisfy your bitterness about having been thoroughly embarrassed is asinine. Spare me. I've got more on my mind. Like how I refused to yield to those sons of bitches who killed Kondo. You can count me out.
Hijikata! I was speechless. Hijikata had all been given up living beyond this war. Why was he so willing to relent? He lived and the others hadn't. It befuddled me to think he would dispose of himself so wantonly. The curtain may have been closing, but he was no stagehand. He was the key player. However, Kazuma accepted Hijikata's offer, drawing his sword out from its sheath as well. Are they gonna do the double kill again? I can't believe. Kazuma! Why?
Step back.
No! I can't! Kazuma had ventured with me in search of the Shinsengumi for the better part of an entire year. At some point, I thought he was beginning to feel some sense of sentiment in regards to Hijikata, who valiantly led the Shinsengumi through thick and thin. Why? Why must the two of you fight? Kazuma hadn't even blinked. He kept his glare fixed on Hijikata, his eyes fuming with rage as he pondered how to kill his opponent. Is it because Hijikata became a fury? Do you feel obligated as a demon to exterminate every fury you come across?
No.
Then why? My attempts to penetrate Kazuma's resolve were useless, and it only seemed to stoke his fire.
You may think me cruel, but this so-called leader is nothing more than a fake. A veritable disgrace. He thinks so highly of himself that now he is challenging me to a battle to the death. There's no sense in delaying the inevitable, and who am I to deny him the death he so eagerly desires?
Kazuma always held a low opinion of humans, never missing an opportunity to sneer at their way of life. But now he viewed himself as an agent of change, one to help facilitate Hijikata's supposed death wish. As an outsider, I interpreted his decision as one made not as a demon, but as a samurai, a true warrior. His manner of accepting Hijikata's offer to duel bordered on respectful, a conversation mutually understood by two men with nothing to lose. Under circumstances like these, did I truly have any room to object?
Conversation's all well and good, but I don't have much time left. Mind if we get this over with? Bring it, Fake.
The two warriors clutched their swords tightly, trading glares that could paralyze a lesser man. Then, Hijikata was the first to move. Kazuma's heightened perception aided him as he deftly intercepted Hijikata's lunge instantaneously. Hijikata showed no signs of faltering, however.
Yeah!
There was purpose in Hijikata's movements, putting his full weight behind each swing as if to signal a larger desire to kill Kazuma rather than to survive the fight. He charged at Kazuma with relentless furor. This is how Hijikata fights. He was a demon, but only in name, an unstoppable force that spent every iota of blood and sweat for a shot at victory in battle. After suffering defeat after defeat, as well as the deaths of his closest comrades, many of whom he had fought beside for years, he persevered.
No!
Hijikata swung horizontally, overshooting Kazuma's head and exposing his chest. Kazuma exploited this with a swift jab, piercing through Hijikata's chest cavity. A mouthful of blood was spat from Hijikata's mouth, who seemed visibly unfazed before he returned the favor. It's the first time my boy's been hurt all of his root.
Gah!
Before Kazuma had a chance to parry, Hijikata rushed to slice along the length of Kazuma's neck. Both men were nursing serious wounds, and my hair stood as I watched blood soak into their tight uniforms. Very tight. It was only by the grace of sheer will that these two could still stand, let alone continue to fight.
Looks like we're at an impasse. You idiot. Your delusions are more impressive than I thought. Only you are struggling at the moment. Say your prayers. I grow tired of toying with you.
What a face. You got too into it.
What an honor for you, really. Imagine being blessed at the end of your life. with the kiss of my steel against your accursed flesh.
In the next moment, both men kicked at the ground simultaneously, leaving cracks in the earth below them. All I could make out of their figures were their shadows crossing in midair, followed by the electrifying hiss of their katanas smacking against one another. It was an awe-inspiring display. Two warriors, who were little more than candles at the end of their wicks, putting their all into one last strike. For a second after, their bodies were suspended in the air like they had been frozen in time, until their bodies dove into the ground with a dull thud. The following day... Just move on from that. You didn't even, go check on either of them? Not your demon hubby, none? Okay. After weeks of arduous fighting, the government of Hakodate tendered their surrender to the Imperial Army. I stood at the edge of Nanehama Bay, where only a day previously I'd arrived with Kazuma with a heart full of hope, staring at the waves crashing on the shore. Hijikata made himself abundantly clear. He had no desire to live in a country governed by the Imperial Army, those responsible for Kondo's death. Kazuma had seemed more than willing to oblige him, partly out of a personal vendetta, but mostly as a gesture of good faith between two seasoned warriors. But he hadn't survived the descent in the aftermath of their battle, lying limp next to his sword on the cold ground. For the entirety of their existence, the Shinsengumi committed themselves to an idealized vision of what it truly meant to be a warrior. How fitting, then, for the Shinsengumi's last duel to be with their greatest adversary, Kazuma, a living embodiment of their most coveted values. Each party played a pivotal role in the outcome of the war, yet history would immortalize neither. Their myths would soon become little more than whispers. Except to me. I was the only witness to their respective ends. The gravity of this burden was not lost upon me. I will never forget what happened here. No matter what, until my dying breath. I will keep this memory safe, preserved in my mind's eye for eternity. Is that it? I shut my eyes, listening to the rhythm of the waves beating against one another in the rising tide. I could see him. I saw Kazuma, his golden hair flowing gracefully amidst the ocean breeze, and his crimson eyes staring back at me. I could have sworn he was smiling. Yeesh! I am not a fan of that ending at all. Personally. I mean, it was neat that they had, the parallel duel in this that they had in Toshi's route, but I kind of felt like Toshi just took over this ending. There was just so much focus on Toshi, and she didn't seem to really be that broken up about Kazuma. It was just very weird. It's they both died. The next day, she's just okay, and moving on. I am now the bearer of the history of the Shinsengumi and this random demon I was domestic with for a while. It was just... I don't know. It was weird. I think I would have preferred if we had had the duel with Toshi in the good ending, with Kazuma, winning. It would be fitting as a parallel to Toshi's route. I don't know, it didn't feel right to me. I'm not a fan of that ending, and not just because my boy died, but it just felt very hollow? Forced? I don't know. Just didn't work for me. What do you guys think? Maybe I'm completely crazy. Maybe it was great and I just don't know. Leave your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear any counter arguments or agreeances with me. Is agreeance a word? I hope so. Alright, is that all my unrequited love endings? Do I get an achievement? Game? Love is a battlefield. Nice. That's our achievement. Sometimes you win in love, sometimes you watch your love get stabbed. That's just facts. At least in this game. Alright, well that was that. That was that unrequited love ending. And now we'll move on to the bad ending. The one and only bad ending. So hopefully I'll see you over there, guys.